We've got a massive video today on all the averages and range, both from a list, from a frequency table and a group frequency table. So let's get started. Let's use the numbers at the top to work out some averages. So we're going to start with the mean, and it's found by adding up all the numbers and then dividing by the amount of numbers. Now the benefit of the mean is that it uses all the numbers, so it makes a good representation of the data. The downside is that it can be influenced by extreme values. Imagine if we had 1 million in this list, what would happen to that mean? The median is the middle number, so you make sure you put all of the numbers in order of size from smallest to biggest, and then find the middle number. So what you can do is cross off 1 from both sides and keep crossing them off until you're left with 1 or 2 in the middle. Here we have 2, so what you do now is add them together and halve it, which will give us 7. The median is great at ignoring extreme values because they're the first ones crossed off, but it can be slow to calculate. The mode is the most frequent. You can have more than one mode. Here the mode is 9 because there are 3 9s. If we had 2 modes, we would call that bimodal. The mode average is great at finding the average of non-numerical data, but the weakness of the mode is it ignores most of the data. Finally, the range is not really an average, but is a number that represents an aspect of the data, so we're going to cover it today. You can find the range by doing biggest take away smallest. The range measures the spread of the data, as in how consistent the data is. Let's go through these questions. We can write the information from the table as a list. So there were 5 games with no goals, 2 with 1 goal and 3 with 2 goals. To find the total number of goals, we can just add these numbers, so we see that the answer would be 8. This can be time consuming, so we could add a column onto the table and work out the total goals scored for each row by multiplying the number of goals by the frequency. We can then add these together, much easier. To find the mean, we need to add up the amount of goals scored and divide by the number of matches. We can add an FG column onto our table to find the total number of goals for each row. We can then add these and divide them by the number of matches, which we can find by adding the frequency column up. The mode is the most common number. Our highest frequency is 5. This tells us that there were 5 matches where no goals were scored. The mode will be 0. To find the median, we can list our data out and find the middle value. There is a 0 and a 1 in the middle, so the median will be halfway, which will be 0.5. The range is the biggest take away the smallest. The most goals scored was 2 and the least was 0, therefore the range will be 2. To find the mean, we would normally add an FH column, but we're unable to multiply 0 to 10 by 14. We need a number that represents 0 to 10. This is where the midpoint comes in to save the day. The midpoint is the number halfway between 0 and 10. You can always find it by adding the two numbers together and halving it. 0 plus 10 is 10, half of that will be 5. Now we can multiply the frequencies by the midpoints for our fx column. Divide the sum of the fx by the sum of the f to find the mean. We can no longer find the mode because we do not know what the numbers are. But we can now find the modal class. Looking at the frequencies, we've got 14, 12 and 5, so the highest frequency is 14. So the modal class will be 0 to 10. Make sure you copy it down exactly from the table. The median is trickier to work out with group tables because we cannot list out the numbers. There is a handy formula that can help us by telling us where the median will be. We add 1 to the total amount of numbers, or the sum of the frequencies, and then halve it. So in our table, that's the 16th value we're looking for. The next 12, looking at the frequency column, we've got the first 14 in the first group, and we're looking for the 16th, and the next 12 will be in the next group. So our median is in that 10 to 20 group. Again, copy it down exactly from the table for our answer. We can't find the range, but we can find the maximum range by finding the largest number that could have been in our raw data and subtracting the smallest number that also could have been in our raw data. So in our example, that is going to be the 30, which is the biggest, and 0, which is the smallest. 30 take away 0 is going to be 30. Let's end on this question. Alora has a range of 5 marks in her tests in Year 7 and a range of 20 marks in Year 8. Explain how Alora may not be improving. If you know, write it in the comments below. And also come to onmaths.com or click the link in the description where you can access all our free GCSE papers and predictions, and you can even save your scores with a free account. This video is part of a larger GCSE course that you can follow along with at onmaths.com.